Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Francesco Graffagnino, journalist of Pet B2B specific magazine, and welcome to be here connected to the webinar Pet Packaging that entices, doses, and informs. So it is a very important moment of exchange for all of you professionals of the pet market. So thanks for being here. And this is an initiative leading to Zollmark trade show that will be organized in next May from the 5th to the 7th. So today we will focus on packaging, and it is important to point out how these webinars and the trade show itself can represent a moment of sharing of experiences. And the trade show, Zollmark trade show in particular, allows you to network with all the other professional operators on the market so that you can exchange views and expertise. The new Zollmark area, so the factory area, is going to be a whole completely for innovation and quality in pet packaging supply chain. So the packaging world is constantly evolving. The need to reduce the environmental impact of packagings and the demand from consumers to pay more and more attention to the environment, and the national and international regulations are deeply impacting on this industry. So not only for packaging manufacturers, but also for professionals of the distribution chain. So today, before introducing the panelists, I would like to give the floor to Luisa Bersanetti, Exhibition Manager at Zollmark. Good morning, good afternoon. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of Zollmark and the organization. So we have a lot of participants, and so this is very important to us because it confirms that the topic of sustainability is crucial in the pet industry. And stemming from the research conducted or the surveys that we entrusted with Nomisma, they confirmed that the professional and the challenges that the companies need to meet in this industry are really paramount. So that's why we decided to organize this first webinar. Thanks to our media partner, Pet B2B. So this is the first chapter on sustainability of pet industry that is going to be dealt with next May in the trade show, not only in the factory area devoted to supply chain, but also through a visit pathway for exhibitors and for visitors. So without further ado, I would like to give back the floor to Francesco. Thank you. Thank you, Luisa. So in order to discuss about this topic, we have today with us Italo Vailati, Deputy General Manager Assografici, Silvia Alberto, Marketing Manager of Nasta Pet Food Group, Antonio Cabras, General Manager of Velvet Packaging Equipment Solutions, and Vincenzo Francioso, Pet Store Conad Country Manager. So I would like to give the floor to Italo Vailati. So first question, considering the regulatory updates of the last period, what are the main changes that companies that work in the pet care field should expect? Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me as a panelist. I have the honor and also the burden to start discussing about the future situation started right from next month. In the packaging industry, we have to consider at least 3 important European laws. So 2 already published and 1 pending, but it should be published next December. So let's start from this last one. It's the packaging waste regulation. The acronym is PPWR. It was proposed a couple of years ago, and then it was revised, it was updated. So next November, it should be approved and then to be published in December. What are the new aspects compared to the existing regulation? So this regulation says we have to reduce the number of packaging released for consumption, and it gives a first deadline, so 2030, so minus 5% for all types of packaging, minus 10% for plastic packaging. Then you have other requests, other preconditions that are mandatory. And then the most important one is that by 2030, all packaging must be recyclable and recycled. So today we talk about recyclable packaging, but by 2030, this packaging should be recycled, and they will be classified according to several decrees that are not yet ready, and they will establish the design for recycling. So this means that the categories of packaging released on the market will be divided into 3 classes, A, B, and C, based on the recyclable degree. And starting from 2030, the category C is going to disappear. So this is a very strict regulation, and it added to these conditions, recyclability conditions, the fact that in some industries, not the pet care one, packaging should be reusable. So not single use any longer. And this is a real challenge, because today you could define your packaging as recyclable, but maybe then it was not recycled. So Italy has a good trend, but the situation is not even in Europe. But starting from 2030, it's going to be mandatory. So if for some packaging, the target is minimum 55%. So if they do not meet this threshold, this requirement, then this packaging would have to disappear. And then the regulation already published, 1115 of 2023, called the European Deforestation Regulation. And this is applied to some agricultural supply chains, like, for example, wood and for pulp paper and paperboard. And compared to the old law, requiring a due diligence to verify that paper and paperboard were coming from renewable certified forests, this obligation of due diligence now covers the whole chain, so starting from the supplier up to the final end product. So even the packaging manufacturers and users must verify the chain, and they must register to European portal. So you will have your own due diligence number that must be provided all along the supply chain. So if you work at European level, so you use paper coming from European forests, the obligations are reduced. It becomes challenging if you buy paper board coming from outside Europe, because the due diligence also includes a risk assessment, and you need to check that suppliers are really paying attention to be environmental friendly. So the news was last week that in December 2024, this should have been applied, but certainly there will be this will be postponed to next year because the portal is not ready yet. So these are two regulations linked to packaging and paperboard products. And then there are other agricultural areas like the livestock or coffee industry. And the main goal is we want to reduce deforestation, not only in Europe, where it is almost absent, but also we want to engage other countries to follow this trend and pathway. The last directive published this year, 825/2024, is a law known as the anti-greenwashing directive. So the fact of sharing green messages that cannot be verified. So for example, let's imagine it's 2030, where you have to recycle your packaging according to the law. If you write on the packaging recyclable packaging, this is a wrong claim because it's an obligation by law. Why today we find like green packaging and so on. So to claim this, you have to show the relevant document showing that what you declare is real. So other examples, you find packaging where it is said we reduce the use of plastics by 20-30%. So the new packaging, can you demonstrate that is greener than the others? So you have to demonstrate it. So for packaging producer, manufacturers and users, you always have to pay attention to your claims, to your messages. So they must prove truthfulness. Also in graphics, so for example, using green color or using, forest images, mountains and so on, this could in a way be deceitful. So this is true for packaging, but also for the content. So you have to pay attention, and this law is going to be entering into force 1st of January 2026. So we still have 15 months to try and document ourselves on the claims you want to use, to support them with documents. This is what's going on at European level. And in Italy, we still have plastic tax pending. We don't know if it's going to be applied or not. We just know that it was postponed 1 year. So these three regulations are effective, so they must be taken into consideration. So thanks, Mr. Vailati. So from the framework, the legal framework, let's move to the industry. So I would like to ask Mrs. Alberto What is your vision, your approach with regard to sustainability and packaging in pet food? So thank you for inviting me. Today, I decided to focus on one of the brands of the Nasta pet food portfolio. That is the brand called Forza 10. Maybe in the future we can focus on the other brands of the group, but as a group, the sustainability and packaging topics are really, really important to us. And in Forza 10, we are committed to move from plastic to paper. The maintenance line was renewed in terms of materials in 2021. So we moved from type of paper completely recyclable. And this innovative change, of course, required a transition period because you have to consider the production aspect. And what is the impact of this choice on production lines? So we implemented all this, and so our packaging is meeting the requirements that Mr. Vailati described. This year too, we decided to walk towards the pathway of sustainability. We, for example, relaunched the monoproteic line by choosing a mono material, so single material plastic bags without the aluminum foil associated. And so this is an additional step towards the sustainable packaging. Roughly 70% of the volumes produced to date are packaged in recyclable bags. There is one exception concerning the active therapeutical line. And inside it, there are botanicals that are very important for product effectiveness. And so they must be protected against for example, sun rays. They must be protected from light or heat or external agents. So we are still looking for the right solution. But for sure, we are happy to work with the industry, with the packaging manufacturers in order to try and find new solutions to meeting the customers' demands. Thank you, Silvia. So in this challenging environment, I would like to ask Mr. Antonio Cabras what are the innovative solutions that your company propose to pet food companies, and if you can give us an example. Good afternoon. I would like to say that packaging in the pet food industry plays different roles that sometimes are not easily understandable by the consumers, because it is part of the product in the value chain. So the customers are buying the product inside, but also the packaging. Packaging is protecting the content, as Mrs. Alberto was explaining before, must be aesthetically valuable. You have to close it. Should, for example, be resistant, and on top of that, it should be not so expensive, and also sustainable. So no, we could, make a joke and saying that, packaging should also be the one cleaning our house, just to make a joke. So, of course, we have to consider all these aspects. Innovation is crucial, sustainability is crucial, not only to be compliant with the regulations, but also because we need to protect the planet. But innovation and sustainability have strong enemies. One is called the price, because solutions today are expensive, and they are more expensive than the conventional solutions, as Mrs. Alberto was saying. So when they adopted, for example, the new paper solutions, the production lines had to follow a transition period because they were used to the old packaging. And so there is a transition phase. And then another enemy is performance or loss of potential performance, both from the manufacturers and suppliers. And then there is another enemy that is shelf life. Some cases, the new solutions can maybe compromise shelf life and also the appearance or aesthetics. So, for example, one of our customers is postponing this recyclable solution because they don't want to lose this metallic color effect, because it is pretty much appreciated by consumers. So, in an historical moment of premiumization, so where all these requirements play a vital role, and consumers and manufacturers need to comply with all these criteria, it is necessary to develop together a strategy. So we have to define the priorities. So what are the priorities in this industry? So a step-to-step pathway in conjunction between food and packaging manufacturers, and also, of course, the marketing managers, because marketing is crucial. It's not just a technical assessment. So it should be a joint pathway in order to adopt over time more sustainable solutions and top-notch solutions yielding to a high performance. So, for example, the wet food pouches, like 100 grams or 70 grams, until a few months ago, no one was offering 100% solution that is recyclable, because apart from all the conditions I mentioned, so after manufacturer, after consumer, one of the player of the supply chain is even more important than that, which is our pets. And recyclable pouches, from a technical point of view, could not overcome an obstacle that was linked to the nose, or the smell of our dogs or cats, because they didn't like the smell of it. So this is an issue that technology is solving, but this is an example, and this is really clear in terms of challenges and what are all the characteristics that must be considered. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cabras. Velvet. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Francioso Conad. So, what compromise are you willing to accept with regard to product shelf life? I agree with what had been said by the other panelists, in particular, Mr. Cabras explained some principles and concepts that relate to much. What is the role of packaging? So, packaging must be able to contain a content and then to preserve. And with regard to shelf life, it should be convenient, it should be carried around, and also communication is important. And then these functions must be met both with regard to retailers, but also with regard to the pet owner. These features are required by the pet owner. Maybe they are not the most important aspect, but for sure they impact on the product choice. So you know that the pet industry over the last 30 years grew a lot. And it, it was influenced also by all the social and economic situations. In particular, COVID boosted this industry very much. So, for example, the focus of pet owner on the animal, on the pet's well-being grew a lot. So I'm referring to pet owners because, as Mr. Cabra said, there is also the need of, for example, finding the right product on the shelf, but it is also very important to represent our customers' needs. So we have 170 stores, and just imagine you have 170 owners, so they have a different approach compared to 170 store manager. So we are really exposed to the needs of pet owners. So this type of demand, so this type of packaging, high quality, and so this is an important choice. But of course, the features I described before remain crucial. With regard to food protection and preservation, I think that for Italians, this is more important than sustainability. So our customer always look for the expiration date. And this is like you would do with your children. So our customers pay attention to the expiration date. And for example, when 4 months are available and then you reach the expiration date, we start discounting the products. So shelf life is paramount, and packaging is an important aspect of this characteristic. Problems in particular concern dry food bags. It's not a problem of snacks or biscuits or accessories. This is more dealing with cans, for example. For example, the wet food covers 36 months, but some other products are produced and they have a 12-month shelf life. So a retailer, even if it's a performing retailer, maybe you have low stock products, like, for example, I don't know, the heart diet. So you must be specialized. So if I, for example, have to buy 6 units, 12 units, and I sell once per month, maybe it is produced abroad, and then you have the delivery time. So you have to imagine, the discount you have to apply in order to sell this product. So shelf life is fundamental, and the industry must consider all these aspects, because pet owners are going to choose on a shelf a similar product with a longer shelf life. So shelf life is crucial also in relation with sales. So I think that 18 months of shelf life, this is the minimum. And this is for the dry food, for wet food, so in particular dry food. Thank you. Thank you, Vincenzo, because you pointed out issues that are really interesting. So, of course, if we find solutions um, for sustainability, and I think industry should also contribute. So it was very important. So I hope there is somebody from the industry connected. So we all have to contribute to this. So thank you. So we described some issues, some novelties from the regulation point of view from retail and industry. I would like to go back to Silvia Alberto. And my question to you is, how do you communicate your commitment to packaging sustainability to the end customer? So do pet owners perceive your effort or the effort of the whole industry? So based on what was said, I would like to point out our pioneeristic approach in following this direction, regardless, despite the objective issues concerning the production phase or the type of materials. The number of pieces per box is a topic we tackled because, as I said to Mr. Francioso, it has to do with the quality of food or the possibility to give a right number of pieces for less performing products, for example. So recently on the therapeutical lines, we followed this direction and we revised the number of pieces per box on the smaller formats. So Forza 10 as a brand, so part of Nasta Group, for sure grew a lot. And they were communicated to customers through digital and social networks, because we think these are the right channels for the sharing of this narrative, going from the product features up to packaging features. And social networks allow an interaction with customers. And I might say that this is an interesting topic for consumers when, for example, we described our our packaging made of paper. We received a lot of positive remarks, or we received questions and they wanted to be reassured about the material used and the preservation properties. So I think that social network, the social channel, is our way of communicating our choices, our sustainability, and our products to consumers. But we also believe in communication through trade, because inside stores you have professionals, you have shop assistants, you have owners, so people living on a daily basis the interaction with pet owners. So I think it is very important for us to keep the store personnel informed on this topic. So not just training on products, so what's inside, but also training on, for example, how to deal with the different products, how to proceed to a proper disposal, because of course they are the first interface, they are in first line in answering to consumers. So we both communicate in two ways, so direct channel, speaking directly to the customers, and indirect channel, informing the whole supply chain to convey our messages and to share experiences and all our efforts in order to send the message to the final consumer too. Thank you, Silvia. Question to Mr. Vailati. So my question to you is if packaging sustainability can represent driver for sales, so and if it can represent an opportunity. First of all, sustainability is the future, but we have to remind that sustainability doesn't mean environment only. There are three pillars: environment, economy, and social impact. And we have to remember all of them, because maybe you have a very wonderful packaging, but the product is made by child labor, then I cannot say it is a sustainable product. And we also have a moral obligation, because aside our own business, our own sector, we are citizens of the same planet, and it's just one planet. It represents a great opportunity, because if you are going to demonstrate, if you are able to demonstrate that it is working, in a sustainable way, in an environmental friendly way, and so on. So in the long term, this is going to be an opportunity concerning these topics. But as I said before, sustainability must be scientifically measured. Otherwise, it is greenwashing. Tools are there, you have to use them, in a good way and in a dynamic way. So, for example, if you want, for example, use a life cycle assessment for an environmental assessment, so this type of analysis not only measure your sustainability, but also you can verify through the indicators of sustainability to see which indicators, which parameters can be improved, therefore improving your sustainability. So these aspects are very important, but as it was said before, so aside packaging sustainability, but safety and preservation. So pet food industry, can it reach a compromise on shelf life? Yes or no? Because we have to remember that food shall not be wasted. So this has an environmental impact that is 5 to 10 times higher than the packaging impact. So we have to consider all the factors. And as I said before, let's pay attention to fake sustainability. There are figures. Very often you just think that you become more sustainable by reducing the use of plastics, but it's not always the case. Because, for example, moving from a plastic packaging to a packaging made of another material or multi-layered packaging, you triple the weight, you reduce the recyclability of the final product. So what is sustainable? So a single material plastics, as it was pointed out before, if it is properly used and recycled, disposed of, it may have a lower environmental impact. So sustainability is a challenge, it is a moral obligation, and it also represents an opportunity. Thank you. Vincenzo Francioso, my question to you concerns consumer trends. Also, going back to what Mr. Vailati said, sustainability is an obligation, it's a duty. But what particular trends do you notice in consumer buying behavior? I would like to go back to what Mr. Vailati said before. So let's pay attention not to confuse sustainability as being recyclable. These are two different things. So sustainability what are the trends today? So in general, the trend is to look for a cost-effective packaging. And in particular, to avoid, for example, the fact of wasting food. So, for example, lately pouches of wet cat food, maybe this type of packaging was less sustainable than cans. But if you use a pouch by squeezing it compared to a can where you can, take out the food with a spoon. So this is just an example. So single dose packaging in cat food are really used today. I remember some years ago there was 800 grams for cats. Now we have a 50-gram can. Maybe it's too much because it's too little, but I think that an average pouch or can is roughly 75 or 100 grams. So the cost is higher, but you don't waste food. And we have to consider the needs of pet owners because they are more and more aware of the challenges and of sustainability. Another characteristics concerns the fact that you find packagings and packs that are easy to carry, or that you can, for example, close them again so that you can reuse the content. So the fact of having great portability with the same preservation features, so this is something we have to improve. And then communication. Communication must be clear and fair. Italian customers are really aware of all the criteria, and they are becoming more and more specialized. So communication must be fair, must be clear, complete, and must not include deceptive information. For example, using wrong images. You still see packagings with pictures that are not really representing the product. So communication must be of course, enticing, but must be clear and truthful, reflecting the content. With regard to sustainability, I think that Italians are very good in doing separate waste collection. So for sure, new generations will do even better. But there is a higher sensitivity. So to date, this year is really challenging for pet food, pet care. So I don't know if pet owners are willing to pay more just for buying a sustainable packaging. I think that, let's say, the average customer is today focusing more on other criteria like the quality content, So if I have to say that our customer switches to a sustainable product or not, in my opinion, the answer is no. This doesn't mean that we have to stop nurturing the right culture or following this pathway. But in reality, sustainable packagings, they cost more. And I think that customers focus more on the quality of the product rather than packaging. So this is my experience as a store manager of 170 stores. Conad follows the road of sustainability. We want to grow the culture. And for example, our private label for pet food, we exceeded 78% of recyclable materials being used, from 74 to 88% year on year. So, and we have some principles that we consider. And so, for example, one of the packaging pillars concern the reduction, for example, of weight. This is also being sustainable. We invest on, in particular, recyclable plastics and biodegradable materials, but without neglecting the local chain, the CO2 footprint and logistics, which impacts a lot on sustainability. So these are the pillars that we consider when we develop new private label products. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Francioso. And to conclude, one last question to Antonio Cabras, Velvet. So we share different viewpoints, and as packaging manufacturers, are you in the middle of this process that is really challenging? What are the issues that you have to face? And considering the global situation, I would like you to describe the differences and trends, a bit, for example, between the US and the European market. So thanks, Francesco. So of course, it's part of our process, and the process is constantly evolving from a regulation point of view. A velvet market is a global market. We also, of course, work in the US, and as you know, regulations are different, both in terms of pet food and for packaging manufacturing. I think that the greatest issue is to provide a technical answer to problems that sometimes are not related to technical aspects. And the specialization channel and this trend to have different codes, product codes, because it's like trying to meet all individual needs. So this take the whole supply chain to deal with a high number of products, and therefore we have to support manufacturers with lower volumes. And of course, you have to consider also the minimum quantities of machine lines. So it's not few thousands. And then we have digital technology. So in this way, you can deal with the product launch. But in general, the packaging industry, when you have to deal with the premiumizations and the highest number of products and codes, of course, this is a challenging situation. Also from a logistics point of view, we have to support customers' supply chain to keep a stock and support purchasing planning, because when you buy packaging for a certain producer and you have to deal with 1,000 or 1,500 different product codes, on the other side you need a planning support for purchasing. In order to avoid having full stock of products, and that maybe need to be complying with the different regulations very soon. And then we go back to the topic of food waste. So change in regulation and in countries, but also a cultural change too. Because a consideration about social sustainability that we perceive in Italy, well, the situation in the US is completely different. For example, they are lagging behind with regard to recyclability, while, for example, the trend is even stronger in countries of the Northern Europe regions. So in order to ensure an efficient supply chain and continuous supply chain, because I think that going out of stock is the fear of every manufacturers. So if you have all the ingredients but you don't have pouch, you are not accessing on the market, you are losing money and opportunities. So complexity from this point of view for producers in manufacturers like we are, I think, so the opportunities are manifold, and we have to follow this pathway considering all the supply chain players. So thank you, Antonio. So we are now at the end of our webinar. First of all, I would like to thank all the panelists for their interesting contributions. And I would like to thank Zomark for the organization of this webinar. So let's meet at Zomark in May 2025. As I said, there will be this new area called the factory area. This is a whole completely devoted to supply chain and packaging for pet food, please surf Zoomark's websites for any items or any novelties and for next webinar dates. So have a good afternoon and thank you. See you in Zoomark.